So that was on that night. That was the video that was captured. And I'd like for Heather to come up at this time and just share why she felt as a citizen, why she was out there, and then why she decided to capture this very, very important video. Without this video, this would have just been swept under the rug. Without a citizen capturing this would have just been swept under the rug. And so we continue to encourage people that are in our community that if you see something, record it. Because that helps bring about a level of accountability that we would not have without video that citizens capture. So with that, Heather, would you come up and just spell your name as well?
So I just happened to be at Linux like everyone else that night, and I was walking by, saw Amber get out of her car to move a barricade so they could leave. At that particular point, the officers sped up behind them, and as you can tell from the video, that's everything that I witnessed. I just had a feeling that something wasn't right. The way the officers just came up so quickly, the whole scene just didn't feel right. There was no one else there. So I don't know. This officer got a slap on the hand. It's ridiculous.
Can you say your name for us and spell it if you don't mind?
Heather, Heather, Upham, Upham.
What was going through your head when you saw this happen to her?
This is the exact reason we're all protesting. We're all protesting police brutality to stop it, to hold police accountable. She could have easily been the next George Floyd. I mean, the way he was dragging her out of a car like a rag doll, throwing her to the ground, body slamming her to the ground. And then you slow the video down, you'll see he knees her in the face. It's not okay.
What was the initial thing that made you pull out your cell phone and press record?
The way I heard some tires screeching, and as I heard the tires screeching, I noticed that it was the police coming up behind them. They had their lights on. So at that particular point, I was like, something's about to happen, and I just brought my phone out and started recording.
Thank you. Thank you. So what we know, and I think it's important that we continue to connect the dots. When we filed last week on Messiah Young and Tanaya Pilgrim, we talked about the psychological toll, and we talked very little about the physical toll. Amber is dealing with both, and I want you to see the physical toll of a young lady of her stature being slammed with such force. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is the x-ray where that bone should have been connected. It is a complete break. A complete break, not a hairline fracture, a complete break, which required major surgery to repair it. She had to raise the money for that surgery. As a working person, she had to raise the money. Here's the city of Atlanta causing this kind of damage. She has to cobble together enough resources to treat what happened to her. She ends up in the sling for months, unable to work. All of this as a result of this officer's attack against her. So next slide. This is the surgical scar after the surgery. So we're not talking about something that cannot be seen. She had to go through this. She will forever wear this scar as evidence of this interaction with these officers in the city of Atlanta's culture that has allowed for this kind of viciousness. The next one. And what she receives is a citation for disorderly conduct. We believe that as the country rewatches this video and remembers what happened, clearly she was not the one that was disorderly. The one that was disorderly, the one that was engaged in a vicious attack, the one that is the true threat to our democracy were those officers in a city that allows them to continue to work and to continue to police the streets of Atlanta. And so I'd like Attorney Spence to come up so that he can walk you through what our open records request has found and what this litigation is about, so that you have a better understanding of what we have set forth as to why this has to stop. We said it was a month of reckoning, and we will be true to our word. Attorney Spence.
Yes, my name is Harold Spence, and I'm a partner with the Davis Bozeman Law Firm. As Attorney Mowley Davis indicated, we have filed this lawsuit against the City of Atlanta and 2 of its police officers. First thing you almost want to say is, here we go again. The last time we assembled, we said that it was shameful that we had to keep coming and keep filing lawsuits in order to hold the city accountable for harms that its police officers commit against citizens. And this case is particularly disturbing because this is one of those rare instances where the city agrees with us. After this incident occurred on May 30th, 2020, the Office of Professional Standards interviewed the 2 police officers we've named as defendants. They admitted that there was no basis for them to stop the vehicle in the first place. They were under no threat. No law had been violated. Their written report indicates otherwise, but once they had to come and tell the truth to the police department, they admitted there was no reason for the vehicle to be stopped. There was no reason for Ms. Jackson to be pulled from the vehicle. They admitted that. There was no reason for her to be body slammed onto the pavement. They admitted that because she had done nothing wrong. But what we see time and again is that the default mechanism in these cases, despite the fact that often these officers know that interactions have been captured on body-worn camera video, the default mechanism is to lie. But when you have video, as Attorney Davis mentioned, that lie only has a temporary lifespan. That lie won't live forever. And similarly, in this case, that lie, those lies that they told, had a temporary lifespan. And they weren't being gallant by coming forward and admitting to what they had done. They were only corroborating what the videotape established. So while the lawsuit will acknowledge that they acknowledged what they had done, please don't attribute any gallantry to that acknowledgement, because they would have had to have convinced you not to believe what your eyes would see on the videotape and what your ears would hear on the audio portion of that videotape. Some of the things are disturbing that are on the videotape. After Officer Swanger picks Ms. Jackson up and body slams her to the ground, you hear him bragging on the tape. I planted her face into the concrete. What kind of trained law enforcement professional brags about that type of misconduct when he knows in his heart already that there was no basis for him to stop her, for him to remove her from the vehicle, or for him to physically assault her? He didn't just brag about that. After he did it, he talked about the maneuver that he used in order to body slam her to the ground. He called it a hip toss, said that it was a maneuver that they were taught in the police academy. We learned during the course of the Office of Professional Standards investigation that that was not true, that there's no such hip toss maneuver taught at the police academy. Simply another lie. Police department requirements are that if you use force against a citizen, before your tour of duty is ended that day, you must file a use of force report documenting the force that was used. Was that done in this case? No, because they wanted no one to know what had happened to Ms. Jackson. And even on the citation for disorderly conduct that Attorney Davis shows you, there's a section to indicate whether or not someone has been injured, and it's checked no. The videotape clearly shows Ms. Jackson complaining of shoulder pain. I don't know if you saw this when Attorney Davis showed this, but you saw Ms. Jackson being body slammed to the ground. And after she was body slammed to the ground, you saw the officer grab her right arm and forcefully jerk it upward to lift her off the ground. But by that time, we know that her collarbone was completely broken. So the arm that he was grasping and snatching upward to get her off the ground was the same arm that had that broken collarbone. We filed a number of counts, and that's what we call them, different claims in this lawsuit against both the City of Atlanta and the two police officers. We've sued the City of Atlanta and these officers for their unlawful seizure of Ms. Jackson's person. That nobody has the right to deprive you of your liberty unless there is legal cause to do so. In this case, they had no such legal cause and admitted that they had no such legal cause. So the handcuffing of Ms. Jackson and her fiance, they're sitting in the police vehicle for an hour while they were handcuffed and while no medical attention was being administered to Ms. Jackson. No lawful basis for the handcuffing and seizure of her person at all, and they admit that. So what is the false predicate that they put out, though, to justify handcuffing and seizing Ms. Jackson's person? That she was engaged in an act of disorderly conduct. They subsequently admit that that was not true as well, that it was a lie, simply a subterfuge, a false justification to support a false arrest. They also said that Ms. Jackson's fiance was engaging in an act of inciting to riot. They admitted that that wasn't true either. They wrote in their report that Ms. Jackson's fiance said that we were here to riot at Lenox Square. They put that in the report. What do you hear on the videotape? He says, we came here to participate in a peaceful protest. So it's this cascade of lies that has caused us to file count one of this lawsuit, that there was no reason to seize their persons. We've also filed a claim for excessive force. If a picture says, speaks 1,000 words, that videotape shows you an exemplar of what constitutes excessive force. The City of Atlanta's Office of Professional Standards found that excessive force was used by Officer Swanger, and he admitted that excessive force was used. The curiosity is, if the city admits that the officers were wrong, and if we agree with the city that the officers were wrong, why is it so difficult to make this right for Ms. Jackson? We've also sued the City of Atlanta itself for two reasons. That the City of Atlanta had a widespread and persistent practice and pattern of not investigating claims of excessive force. And because officers knew that they were not going to investigate these claims of excessive force, they felt that they could act with impunity. So we're contending that the city's widespread and persistent pattern and practice of not seriously investigating excessive force claims created a culture in which these police officers felt empowered, even when there was no legal justification to use force, to use constitutionally excessive force. We filed another claim against the city of Atlanta contending that they failed to train their officers that they have a duty to intervene. What does that mean? The law says that when one police officer observes another police officer violating the law, violating the rights of a citizen, using excessive force against a citizen, that police officer who observes that conduct has a duty to intervene and to stop it. Officer Brandt failed to do that when he observed Officer Swanger engaging in this violent misconduct against Ms. Jackson, and the city of Atlanta failed to train its officers to do so. In fact, it wasn't until July of 2020 that the city of Atlanta first created a policy requiring officers to intervene. This is despite the fact that for more than 20 years that had been the law. We've also filed claims based on state law for assault and battery against the police officers, for false imprisonment and false arrest, and for their willful misrepresentation and deceit, where they willfully misrepresented certain facts. And so we're seeking damages for Ms. Jackson for this misconduct. We look forward to working for Ms. Jackson to hold the city accountable for the harm that it has done to her and for the harm that its officers continue to do to citizens of Atlanta. Thank you.
Just wanted Ms. Jackson just to say her feelings right now. Obviously, have now filed, so litigation has begun, so she won't be able to take any questions, but just wanted you to hear directly from her.
Hi, I'm Amber Jackson. Last time you all saw me, my shoulder is broken. At this point, I'm tired of feeling sad and tired of feeling unease around law enforcement, the police. I never thought that would happen to me, and to think there's worse cases than mine. I think that since they're in the law, police are, in charge of law, or they enforce the law, they should have proper training. I mean, me, myself, I have my bachelor's degree, and I was trained in dental hygiene. This shouldn't have happened. I mean, it shouldn't happen to no one, shouldn't happen to me. And I'm just here to say how I feel, and hopefully everything will be rectified, because this is not okay. You can't just lie. I mean, y'all see the video. That's just a little part of my life. I'm thankful for my support. My fiance, we're still trying to get married. My mom that's here, and Wally Davis for supporting me during this time, because at one point I did not know what really happened to me. So, I mean, thank you.
Do you have any questions for myself or Attorney Spence about the?
Do you want to see these officers fired, or do you want to take it a step further and see them charged criminally?
So every client that we meet with, and we meet with literally throughout the week, we meet with people who have had these kinds of police encounters repeatedly. And every client we meet with, we talk about three ways of addressing police misconduct. One is for there to be personnel decisions made. Here, the personnel decision that was made was a letter of reprimand. It started out as a suspension, and then it ended up being a letter of reprimand. So they have done their personnel process, and that's it as far as they're concerned. The second was the law violated. We believe that the law was violated and that the officer should have been criminally prosecuted. And we are hopeful that once we'll provide a copy of this to the district attorney, we'd like for the Public Integrity Unit of Fulton County to look at this, to take a good, fresh look at what happened. The footage that was captured from the body cam, as well as the footage that was captured by Heather. And then the third is why we're standing here. Knowing everything that we have had to craft and put into this lawsuit, the city knows all of that, yet there has been no resolution of this matter. And they know that she had to have a surgery. They know that she continues to suffer as it relates to emotionally from all of this and how it has impacted her. It impacted her ability to work and live. It's traumatic. And they know all of that, yet we still had to file a lawsuit. So our expectations at this point, when we talk about culture, there's a culture of policing in the city of Atlanta that we document in this lawsuit, but there's also a culture in the city of Atlanta as it relates to how they deal with these issues in the legal department. They are not addressing them. And when they don't address them, all it does is embolden other officers to continue this kind of behavior. They can't say that these officers they're not going to indemnify them because they still work for them. We have another case where officer has tased the young lady. He ends up lying about it, resigning, and the city says, we're not going to provide any coverage. That's the kind of crap.
Two questions. First of all, there's a thing that I hear that the city does not have general liability insurance to cover these officers. We've been going down that road to see that that's kind of accurate. Why do you think that is? And is that the reason why these cases are being held up? It is accurate that the city doesn't have liability insurance for these types of instances, but that is a decision that the city has made. They've made the decision not to have insurance. There are other municipalities that have insurance. We handle these cases all the time against various municipalities in metro Atlanta and around the state of Georgia. And many are insured. That is simply the city of Atlanta's practice. It's a decision that they've made. They've weighed, I guess, the cost benefit for them, and they've decided that we'd rather defend these lawsuits and try to delay and get them dismissed rather than to obtain insurance and to be held accountable. But knowing that you don't have insurance, that still doesn't diminish your accountability when your employees cause harm to a citizen. And again, we're here, you said we're here a lot, we are, because the city continues to refuse to acknowledge its basic legal and moral accountability when one of its officers acts in an unconstitutionally improper manner and causes harm to a citizen.
What damages exactly are you seeking?
We are seeking whatever an enlightened conscience of the jury. That's what we're seeking. When a jurist whether they be from Roswell or city of South Fulton, that come from the Northern District. We want them to watch this video. We want them to look at this body cam footage. We want them to hear from the doctor who performed this surgery. And then whatever they believe is just and fair, that's what we are seeking. And so we've given the city an opportunity through a anti-litem notice to address this, and they have not. No response. And so now we're here. And it is exhausting to be here. Ironically, if you were to get on the expressway and get hit by a tractor trailer, you would know for certain that that tractor trailer had at least $1 million, at least to try to address any injuries. Not the city of Atlanta. Nothing.
So this seems to be more financial, so that these cases go to the general fund, tying up the general fund, because if they don't have insurance, where else are they gonna get the money from? So perhaps maybe they're tying these cases up because you would literally bankrupt the city with all the cases that we've seen thus far.
Well, you see, George Floyd's matter was resolved. They just recently resolved Alton Sterling. All over the country, our colleagues who are civil rights lawyers all over the country, we're in communication with them. They're getting their matters resolved. They're getting their cases resolved because the cities are trying to set a new tone. They're trying to move in a different direction. They want to do a clean slate. That's not happening here. As volatile as things were in the city of Atlanta, at some point you would think it's time to hit the reset button. It's time for us to look at this anew and examine this in a different way and address these issues and to really shift the culture of how we address the injuries that our law enforcement agencies cause. That is not and has not happened. And until that happens, you'll continue to see it. We're just, one day away from another one.
Whose call is that to say, let's hit the reset button?
I think it's all of the elected officials in the city. I mean, we have people that are running, that are currently coming out of city council. At some point, why not have a clean slate? Why not say this summer, the summer that we experienced, that the rest of the country experienced, we have to address what has happened. It's truth and reconciliation. We saw it happen in South Africa. We've seen it happen all over the world where we know a system has been broken and the injured and those who cause the injury have to have a reckoning. And that's what we said June would be for the city of Atlanta. It's time. It's been over a year and we've waited patiently. She's waited patiently. Broken and battered, but she's still here. Looking for answers, looking for someone to acknowledge that her life has mattered. And up until this point, there has been no acknowledgement. That helps the healing process. She can't begin to really heal until somebody says, I'm sorry, let's make this right.
Instead of just trying to take advantage of the next news cycle. A lot of times when we see instances like this, the public officials come out very quickly and condemn the misconduct and say that it's not right and say that things must change and appear to be wholly responsible and responsive to the citizenry. But once the glare of the cameras has gone, once you're no longer around asking them about it, how do they deal with citizens like Amber Jackson? As Attorney Davis told you, we were required to file an anti-litem notice against the city of Atlanta. Anti-litem means before litigation. They didn't respond at all, despite the fact that they knew at that time that their officers had already admitted that they were wrong, that they had violated the rules, that they had violated the law. So what we get is this hypocrisy. So part of what Attorney Davis is talking about is a reset from the hypocrisy that has characterized the city of Atlanta's dealing with civil rights cases.
Thank you all. We appreciate you coming this afternoon, and thank you.
Can you all tell us how much the surgery was? You know, not that that's the whole picture, but how much did she have to raise?
There's gotta be
I haven't
physical
seen
checking
that.
after that too, right?
Yes.
Physical.
She had physical
Therapy.
therapy.
Physical therapy.
Yeah, she had physical therapy.
But there's another one also.
Yeah,
It's two surgeries, and I mean, the first
Yeah.
one was over 65.
yeah, so we're talking over $60,000. She's had surgeries, physical therapy. You know, she's a young lady, and her body will never be the same, and what emotionally, and that's one of the things that we think is often not taken into consideration. When you have a traumatic experience, it changes you, it impacts you. I saw her mother come to her today, and she had this bright smile. It's the first time I've really seen that smile in representing her over a year. It just hasn't been there. I don't know, I didn't know her prior to this, but I'm a father, so I see the impact that this can have on young people, especially young people. They were out there believing they could help change the world, and then they're treated this way. That's what we have to get. They're out there hoping to change the world, and then they're brutalized by the very system that they're seeking to change. That's what's so deeply troubling, and we're just thankful that Heather recognized that as well, the contradiction of it all. Thank you all.